What's going on YouTube? Welcome to another Conqueror League game over here. This time around, we're going to have Wam versus Leenock spawning in on the southern part of the map. It is going to be Wam01 with the English in red, opening with a barracks straight away. And on the north, it is Leenock playing as the Mongols in blue. So, opening with a barracks is not something that's uncommon nowadays with the English. Of course, your play is going to be the early man-at-arms right away. The tricky thing here against the Mongols is that obviously you're trying to pressure a player that, first of all, you don't really know where exactly his base is. With other civilizations, it's a little easier to find because obviously it's on the direct opposite side of the map and it's a stationary town center. But with the Mongols, there is always a bit of a risk with you running into the town center fire, losing your scout or potentially your men-at-arms. And as you see on the right side, Wam, I don't think that he managed to find the base of the opponent. Now, looking at these gold mines over here, you see those are scattered all across the base of Leenock, and obviously that is going to be the target for that first man-at-arms coming in. So you see, Wam still haven't found the base of the opponent just yet. There is the gold mine, and he's going to be delighted to see that this is a gold mine that he can deny. Now, the risk that's associated with this type of a push here with the English is that if the opponent has the gold mine close to a forest and the town center is also close, obviously the man-at-arms can't deny the gold mine. Now, probably the reason why Wam still decided to add the man-at-arms is because, let's say that, okay, the gold mine and the forest are close to each other, then you probably have an Ovu that's far away from the town center, so that could be pressured. So there is still quite a lot of positives in this man-at-arms opening over here, but obviously you have to approach it in a slightly different manner than what you would have from, let's say, trying to attack a French player. Now, you could see for a brief moment that Leenock does not know about the base layout of the opponent, so he has probably spotted the man-at-arms coming forward with the Khan, and he's going to abandon his gold mining operation on the right side, instead dropping a pasture close to his town center. He knows the other gold mine is there on the left side, so he's probably going to move towards that, but he hasn't scouted the barracks inside his opponent's base. So the only way that he knew that those man-at-arms were coming was that he spotted the man-at-arms themselves. Looks like a lumber camp is already up here for Wam, so he's getting ready to drop a mill and start adding a farming eco. And it looks like we still have quite a lot of unclaimed sheep here in the middle of the map. That's going to be pretty handy for Leenock. And look at that, that is a man-at-arms now denying that gold mine. And that is a second man-at-arms coming in actually. Now this is a lot more aggressive than what you usually see from the English. Many people actually vouched for the second man-at-arm play in the Golden League sets that we have seen, because two man-at-arms can be even more devastating, even if the opponent is mining gold with something like the French, for example, and abandons the gold mine, because you can burn down the mining camp rather easily, you can delay the opponent a lot more. But in this scenario, it's an interesting play here from Wam, and I love it. Oh, look at that. Leenock doesn't know about the gold mines on the right side, so the gold mine that he knows about is in the far left corner. Oh no, Leenock. You see at the top left that his current resources are sufficient for Feudal Age, except for a gold. He's lacking gold and he's getting delayed by it so much. And this is why I love this play from Wam. He's aware that each player starts with two small gold mines close to his base, so he's going to send a man-at-arms to each of those, and now there is no way for Leenock to access either of those. He would have to move to the right side towards those smaller gold piles, but Leenock didn't find them, so the only gold mine that he had access to at the moment he had to make that decision was the one on the far left. Khan is pursuing that scout over here. As you see, wheelbarrow is on the way for Wam, and I don't think that Wam has found that gold mine on the left. Indeed, he doesn't know about it. And he probably doesn't even anticipate the opponent being there. Just think about that. Why would he ever think that Leenock goes through the map to get that gold mine? He's still looking for additional gold mines, so you could see that he was probing the other gold mines over there, dropping the farms back at home. Still in Dark Age he is, so obviously by going for two man-at-arms at the beginning, he's also delaying his own Feudal Age. And it looks like he's opting to go for the free farm placement, which is, well, a little unconventional, but that house is actually screwing a lot of things over because that's preventing an extra farm from being added. Looks like Leenock is going to start sniping down the sheep over here, and Wam is heading towards that corner. He needs to know that Leenock will try to get gold from somewhere. It's obvious. Leenock can't afford not to get gold. So if he's not mining gold back at home, he has to be elsewhere. You can see that Wam is moving to the right side of the man arms, and he's actually closing in on that big gold mine in the corner. Defensive tower coming in here for Leenock immediately. He knows very well that the moment this gold mine is discovered, the first couple of longbows will be heading that way. And look at that. Wam doesn't know. He should suspect it, especially because the man arms are on the right side, and he hasn't spotted a single unit moving to the right. So he's probably suspecting that the gold miners are on the left, and he's going to get a positive confirmation about that in a matter of seconds. He sees the tower, he knows what to pressure. Now, in the meantime, he's going up to Feudal Age with the Council Hall, and on the other side, Leenock is playing with what I think it was a stable. I'm fairly certain it was a stable, actually. Indeed, it is a stable out there, Deerstone's coming in, so Leenock was able to get sufficient amount of gold for Feudal Age, and this is where the nice thing about that Dark Age stable being available comes into play for the Mongols. Even if you don't want to fight with early horsemen, you can start massing your horsemen as you go up to Feudal Age, so you will have a formidable force to work with once you get to Feudal, and all you have to do is just grab the upgrade. So it's a great thing that you can start building up your horseman numbers as you go up to Feudal, especially with the double training, which also makes it much more efficient. Now you got 2 horsemen coming out there. Wam is in the danger of losing that scout. I think he has a second scout working for him, so that's not really a big deal. Actually no. He only has 1 scout to work with. Which means that losing this scout will pretty much mean that he's going to be playing blind. And you can see that Leenock is going to play very aggressive on the horseman department. Council Hall now coming in for Wam, and he's going to combine spearmen with longbows, usual combination with the English at the beginning, and obviously the main pressure point is going to be on the gold mine on the left side. Fast blacksmith on the way as well, so siege engineering could be on the horizon very soon. Obviously there's a tower there that he needs to get rid of, the sooner the better, so siege engineering at the beginning makes a lot of sense. But let's not forget that there is a blacksmith coming in as well for Leenock, so he's going to get the range defense upgrade on those horsemen. He's grabbing the horseman upgrade right now. He's gonna have 4 early horsemen, soon to be 4 Feudal Age horsemen, out there on the battlefield as well to intercept those forces. It's worthwhile to note that the gold mines at the back of Leenock's base are now secure, so even if this gold mine on the left side gets pressured, he could go back home. Obviously, he doesn't want to commit the walking time. That's the biggest factor. It will take a lot of time to walk back home, even though you would be partially affected by the YAM speed. And indeed, there is a defense upgrade coming in for Leenock. And on the other side, that is siege engineering for Wam. So indeed, he's trying to prioritize the push on that gold mine. Look at that. Leenock is hiding in the stealth forest. He's aware of where Wam's forces are at. Whereas for Wam, he lost his scout, so he's gonna have very limited vision. He's pretty much playing in the dark over here. Reinforcements could be cut off, gold miners could be exposed, and I do believe that those gold miners are now about to get attacked. In the meantime, Wam is pushing up to the left side over here with the archers, and indeed, now the villagers under pressure from the gold mine, and there's a dead villager out there, so Leenock was able to pick off one on the gold mine of Wam. That's the first villager casualty of the game. Archer range now in back at home for Leenock, so he's going to start adding his own archers to counter the spearmen as well. And he's massing up a pretty decent force of horsemen now. He's up to 6. So Wam has to respect that. His army is moving towards the left side, could be exposed to a raid, or he could be exposed to just that army getting wiped out by a superior number of horsemen here. Looks like a couple of longbows on the right side could be intercepted. And indeed, they are now the target of those horsemen. This is a pretty decent fight over here for Leenock. He's going to pick off 2 longbows before calling off his cavalry. Leenock, so far, very efficient with the unit control. Managed to pick off a villager before, now picks off 2 longbows. Battering ram coming in here for Wam. It is up against the tower with arrow slits, so that's going to help a little bit with the defense for Leenock, but he's going to need his horsemen back over there. That is probably the number 1 target. First archers now moving out here for Leenock. Wam has no idea about these horsemen over here, whereas for Leenock, he's got the con in the mix, and that's going to give a lot of line of sight to him. And that's immensely valuable, because obviously, it's much easier for Leenock to acquire targets like that. Battering ram now moving in, the gold mine is finally under attack, and with the arrow slits, that tower is going to help a little bit more against those longbows, but obviously... Oh, the boar! Who aggroed that boar, actually? Who aggroed the boar here? Because it's attacking the forces of Leenock over here. Finally, the horsemen come in. It is going to be the spearmen pushing up against the tower. Tower now on fire. Only 2 archers on the battlefield for Leenock, so the tower is likely going down. Indeed it does. Villagers not running back home, rather starting to attack that battering ram. And now the horsemen do surround the longbows here. This is a big battle, and I think Leenock has the critical mass over here. Most of the spearmen are now getting taken down. Men-at-arms are disappearing from this group as well. Some palings have been deployed by the longbows, but ultimately, with the help of that one archer, the horsemen seem to be quite successful cleaning up this force over here, and it looks like indeed Wam is going to lose the majority of his army. So this is a bittersweet moment right now for Wam. He just lost a significant force. On the other hand, he managed to pick off a couple of villagers from the opponent. So Leenock did lose quite a lot of villagers on that gold mine, plus he has to walk back home now. The good news is that he can take the gur with him. That's one of the advantages of playing Mongols in this situation. He can just pick that gur up and go back home. Behind this one, now Wam is going to focus on a much more defensive approach, and he's going to start building up his farming eco, work towards Castle Age. Obviously, he wants to secure that second town center, the King's Palace, for himself. Triple archer ranges though for Leenock here, so he might go very aggro here in Feudal or potentially early Castle Age here. He's spotting the forces of Wam crossing the map, and that's a pretty decent force of archers right there in the middle of the battlefield. So Leenock has a chance to wipe out this other army here from Wam. You can see that in terms of villagers, we do have 37 versus 40, so there's actually less villagers here for Leenock as compared to Wam, which is a little surprising. I would assume that Leenock had food shortages and he was prioritizing making army, so he skipped making a couple of villagers over here. Now he's intercepting the forces of Wam over here. Wam trying to regroup. He's got 2 groups of units over here trying to make it into one group. Archers from Leenock picking off most of the spearmen here. Horsemen finally reaching the back of those longbows. Spearmen still in the mix here, but slowly getting picked off. And with the spearmen gone, it is going to be just a retreat from those longbows. Wam essentially sacrificed the longbows for the sake of, or sacrificed the spearmen rather, for the sake of saving those longbowmen. Defensive tower now coming up over here on the gold mine of Wam, and he's working towards Castle Age. He is piling up resources. You see 700 food, 400 gold. Palings now being deployed once again by the longbowmen, and now they have the network of castles bonus, and you have to respect that if you're Leenock. You can't just push deep into the base of Wam over here. He's got the extra range. He's got the extra firepower, so you don't really want to push in there unless you have the critical mass. That poor little gur is going to start making his way back home. Will take quite a lot of time to get back, and look at that, villagers on berries. Not something that you see every day here for Leenock. He's got a decent amount of pastures, some sheep under the town center as well, but I do believe that his villager deficit is probably coming from food shortages, or he was just paying too much attention to macro, and he forgot to make villagers. Sometimes happens. Looks like we do have 2 villagers moving up here for Leenock. That is for a tower. And we talked about that network of castles bonus for the English. But obviously, let's not forget the Yam network for the Mongols. So both civilizations benefiting from those towers. And Leenock wants to commit. He's moving in with the horsemen. Villagers getting called back into the town center. Longbows in pretty decent numbers. Horsemen running directly under the town center though. And this is a full commitment by Leenock. He's going to commit all his forces over here, moving in deep into the base of the opponent. Longbows slowly getting taken down, but so are the horsemen. Now the Khan is gonna get picked off. And remember, that's an English town center firing a ton of arrows. Look at that. The archers are just getting mauled down over here by the town center fire. The longbows are getting taken down as well. The archers suffering heavy casualties though, but they do find the Castle Age up of Wam over here, and that could be a disaster. So many villagers building that landmark. It is going to be no withdrawal from Wam actually. He's going to stay there. He wants to finish that King's Palace. He could just pull back his villagers, buy himself a little time, clean it up with the longbows, and then get back. But he wants to rush it up. He finishes it, but so many villagers went down over here. 45 villagers for Leenock right now, 38 for Wam. So Wam just lost at least 6, 7, 8 villagers in this fight. He might have been a little too stubborn trying to get that landmark up. Now the good news is that he's going to have 2 town centers as opposed to 1. So he's going to make it back. And that's probably the reason why he tried to rush it up. He was like, okay, I cannot risk reinforcements to come in and permanently deny that landmark. So I will sacrifice some of my villagers knowing I can rebuild all of them. And then I will still catch up in terms of villager count because I'll be on 2,000ers and you will be on 1. But I need that landmark. And he got it up. Stable now being dropped here by Wam. Other side, looks like a second. Oh, that's the step redoubt. So obviously, step redoubt will now be positioned on the gold mine. And the Gur is going to be called back. So what is going to be the unit composition right now for Leenock? He's got triple archer ranges. Technically, he can continue to go with archeries as the bulk of his force. Start adding some lancers, start adding some crossbowmen maybe for armor piercing power. We'll have to see. Gotta love these towers though, and you're going to have spring golden placements on those as well. That's going to be a ton of firepower, and that's going to deny those forests in the future. So that could cause a lot of headache for Wam in the next 5, 6, 7 minutes or so. Look at that triple Gur coming in here for Leenock. That actually makes those lumberjacks super efficient. They're affected by Yam speed, so they will move faster, and you have triple Gurs, so you always have one that's very close to the forest to drop off the wood at. So that's a very efficient lumberjacking operation over there for Leenock. Those Gurs are actively being pushed up. Leenock is very active optimizing that lumber camp, or well, that lumberjacking operation rather, and I love it. It's going to be such a boost to his wood eco. Anyways, first knight making it through the map right now. This is the first mounted unit from Wam, if I'm not mistaken. Just one lonely knight pushing up here. Might actually try a raid on that gold mine. Remember, Leenock doesn't have a ton of protection to that gold mine. And I do see some religious units coming up. That is a shaman for Leenock, so he wants to play a relatively slow game over here, start picking up the relics. And look at that. That is the Ovu being spotted with the villager building it. Now exposed to the knight. The knight is going to dive in over here, swing its sword once, and that villager should go down. In the meantime, on the other side, the Khan is moving up, so you gotta be careful with that if you are Wam. Wam is going to make it back to the town center. And on the other side, look at that, the villager is still alive. The villager is still alive. Oh, he's dead. He could have actually made it back to the tower. That's Yam speed for you. I mean, Yam speed is one of the most underappreciated bonuses by many. Because, obviously, if you look at it, ton of extra speed sounds good. But then you're like, oh yeah, I prefer the extra firepower of the English. Or, I don't know, I prefer the Ragnitz Cathedral giving me a big boost with the HRE. But guess what? That Yam movement speed is one of the biggest strengths of the Mongols. It's not even the double training actually, it's the Yam speed, because it helps you so much pursuing fleeing units, escaping from battles you don't want to take, and the list goes on and on. Shaman now out here for Leenock, and you see there is a monk as well for Wam, so now we're turning this into a war for the relics. In the middle, looks like Wam is going to pick that relic up here, and he's going to get back home with it. First Lancer now moving out here for Leenock. Longbows will try to repel that, and it looks like that is going to be one knight taken down by now veteran spearman from Wam. In the middle area, Khan trying to be active, doing a bit of a damage to that one knight. Lancers are moving in from the other side though, and that is going to be Wam, losing one knight over here to the Lancer superiority. These towers do have spring golden placements on them, and they do hit hard. You see, the knights that are newly made in Wam's base, those are coming out already damaged, and now look at that. 57 to 61 villagers, 2,000ers are up for Leenock. I love this play from Leenock. He knows fully well that he's playing against the English, so there is 2,000ers guaranteed for the opponent. Might as well go for his own second town center, so it doesn't fall behind the villager count. Looks like there is gonna be a bit of a fight for that relic on the right side, with likely Leenock's knight winning that because he started with full HP. Yeah, Wam is going to call off that knight, trying to save it in the long run. Behind this one, Barracks transition, currently coming in for Wam. He has gotten armor clad already. So, Man-at-Arms is probably on the menu very soon, and Leenock is pushing up with some towers over here. So, he wants to secure that central area, wants to expand his Yam network, potentially even secure that sacred site. And you see, with those Yam network towers all across the map, mobility is going to be a huge source of concern for Wam. Because his army is going to be slow, spearmen, men-at-arms, longbows, and Leenock could use that to his advantage, using the Lancers with Yam network to just raid left and right. Speaking of raiding, here comes some Lancers moving in to the left side, getting a couple of reinforcements intercepted actually rather than villagers. Still decent value for those. Khan is also going to disengage. Oh, the Khan is running into the longbow fire. Looks like he's going to change direction and get away. And Wam wants a castle in the middle. That's the second big gold mine of the map. You can remember that the one on the left side is the first big gold mine. So both players trying to secure that big gold mine and the sacred site in the middle, but there is already a tower up there for Leenock, so dropping a castle on it is gonna be a little challenging, especially once that spring gold emplacement finishes. Sacred sites now being kept by Leenock, and there come the villagers. Seeing the tower, they will turn back. Technically, Wam has the army to get that castle up though. I mean, he can just commit his forces, the spearmen, take down the tower, and then drop the castle over there, and that is exactly what he's doing. The Lancers are moving in. That's a pretty decent force for Leenock here, and the Lancers are charging in on the villagers. Looks like they are prioritizing the villagers building the castle. Archers also make it in here, and there is going to be a shaman trying to pop a Vololo. The Vololo is going to be unsuccessful as the longbows pick off the shaman. Many villagers fall underneath the castle over here, though. This is a fight that Wam is not necessarily losing, but he's losing so many villagers. The keep goes up here. That is going to expand the network of castles bonus. You're going to have the villagers garrison into the castle as well, resulting in Leenock calling it his forces. The shaman might actually get picked off by the castle over here. Indeed, the shaman is going to get taken down. Oh, this is a bittersweet moment once again for Wam. He has taken down so many forces from the opponent, but on the other hand, he lost a lot of villagers building that castle. So what was the price of that? And let's not forget, both players are playing 2 town centers, so if Wam lost a lot of villagers, he's in trouble. 71 to 72, that's perfectly fine. So obviously he no longer has a villager lead. He probably never had it for the last 15 minutes anyways, but he's not gonna have a villager deficit either. For now, Leenock is going to start healing up his army with that shaman. He has gotten 1 sacred site for himself, but now in the middle, you do have Wam's castle preventing him from taking it. He's flanking around, actually. He might be tempted to try and push Wam's base, though. Remember, you got the Yam network over here, so your mobility is light years better than what Wam can have. So you can really just try to outmaneuver him and strike at the back of his base when he's unprepared. Another Sprengel tower coming in for Leenock here. In the meantime, of course, Wam is expanding his gold eco, and that's going to help substantially once you get to Imperial. Well, right now it's food eco. I think I said gold eco. Well, that was a mistake on my end. Obviously, right now it's food eco, but once you get to Imperial, it's also going to be your gold economy. So I love how he's depleting this gold mine in the middle, which will mean that Leenock has less to work with. And simultaneously, as we see him grabbing the network of Citadel's bonus, so simultaneously, he's also working towards Imperial, where he's going to have a great gold eco from the farms. So not only are you banking up the gold from the middle right now and taking it away from the opponent, you're set up well long-term with the gold income. So that's going to be a nice combination here for Wam. Looks like we're seeing crossbowmen hit the field here. Retraction Trebuchet is also being added by Leenock. He's going to secure the sacred site on the right side, so that's going to help him as well with the gold income. Looking at the incomes per minute, that's going to be better and better though. Look at that, Leenock, 1900 food, 1400 gold. Obviously some of that comes from the relics, some of that comes from the sacred sites, but let's not underestimate the contribution of the step redoubt as well. And it's one of the ways that Leenock is able to carve up a pretty considerable eco lead. Free traction trebuchet is now ready to fire up against that keep. The response is 1 counterweight trebuchet from Wam. That is going to be his only siege weapon on the battlefield. I didn't see a single Sprengel from him, and now the traction trebuchet starts shelling that keep over there. Now, Wam's army isn't huge, and this was a concern for him for quite a long time, actually. In fact, if you remember the battle in the middle, it was more about that castle going up rather than his forces actually winning that battle. And I saw Trebuchet getting cancelled and replaced with Sprengolds now in the queue, so now Wam's response is going to be the Sprengold to those Trebuchets. No Sprengolds just yet for Leenock, which is a bit of an oversight, I would say. When you're shelling a castle like that, you should expect Sprengolds to pop up, so you need a couple of your own Sprengolds to try and battle that. Leenock might not be able to afford it, so that could be a possible explanation on why he doesn't have those on the battlefield right now. First Springald out here, trying to get an angle on those trebuchets. Trebuchets getting called back for a brief moment. And, dancing around. He's going to get one out. Villager count still rather close between the two players. Springald, you only have one of those, so you really gotta protect that. Longbow is now in decent numbers. Remember, you will also have the buff aura of the castle here. And it looks like Leenock is committing. Leenock is committing. He's going to pop defense arrow on the con, charging him with the cavalry. Those will eat a lot of damage from the spearmen. Network of citadels bonus out there for Wam. So the rate of fire on those longbows, the attack rate on those spearmen man-at-arms are crazy. But the numbers, the sheer numbers are brutal over here for Leenock. And he's got crossbows mixed in as well. The crossbows will deal with most of those man-at-arms. Most of the spearmen are now gone, and the lancers still there in decent numbers. Now Springolds are rolling up to try and take down the trebuchets. One goes down. Springolds under attack, now getting flanked by the lancers. Lancers will finish off both Springolds over here before the trebuchets go down. The castle is at like 40% HP. Most of the infantry here is gone from Wam though, and now his remaining longbows are being pursued by those lancers. New Springold pops out, immediately getting taken down by the lancers, archers, and crossbows also pushing up here. This castle is history. It's gonna go down, and everything that's garrisoned inside is also going to fall. This is such a big hit right now to Wam. He has lost most of his forces, including quite a lot of expensive siege weapons. He has lost access to this central gold mine, and he has lost quite a lot of villagers garrisoned in there as well. So you see, now it's 78 to 100 villagers actually. So Leenock has been adding villagers non-stop, whereas for Wam, it really seems like he probably stopped making villagers for some time. He was probably focused on that battle. Lost quite a lot of villagers in that castle as well, and now that's going to have an impact on his eco. And speaking of economy, part of that, of course, is going to be your gold income. Look at that, 1500 gold per minute for Leenock. Part of that comes from the free sacred site he's now controlling. He captured all free sacred sites at like 27 minutes, so the victory cutoff is 37 minutes with those sacred sites. I think Wam is going to have a reasonable chance to decap one of those, but it's more about that gold income right now for Leenock. And speaking of Leenock, he's going to use that excess amount of resources he's obtaining to get Imperial Age for himself. There comes the White Stupa, beautifully placed in between those archer ranges, in between the pastures. So most of the buildings that previous Ovu has boosted, the White Stupa is also going to be able to boost. In the meantime, for Wam, Imperial Age is not really on the horizon, and that's a growing concern, especially because his gold income is horrible. In fact, if you look at the gold mines, right next to the attraction trebuchet, there is one gold mine. So Wam's gold mines right now are being cut off, and that's a very long distance gold mining operation, if I may say so, for Leenock. He probably hasn't reached that position with the step redoubt yet. That's very common. You send in your villagers, you stand in the step redoubt, and the step redoubt takes a little more time to get there. So the villagers will probably take 1 or 2 trips without the step redoubt. There we go. Now you have the redoubt to drop off your resources at. Mangonels being added here by Leenock. Obviously, after a nerf, mangonels are not super powerful. In fact, many consider them quite weak, actually. But one thing that you gain with them is a ton of firepower, and many people don't respect that. Like, that's still a lot of firepower, and if you're not actively killing those mangonels, and your opponent has, like, mass infantry as his army, they can still pack a pretty big punch. So like 2, 3, 4 volleys are devastating. Mill's getting taken down over here for Leenock. That's also 2 in 1 when it comes to the prize. Obviously, he's going to disrupt the economy of his opponent with that. And he's also getting the raid bounty. He's also shelling that wood line with the mangonels. Oh, that's a weird angle with the line of sight. It's possible he's actually ground attacking. That's something that many players started doing. Blindly ground attacking behind trees to try and pick off those villagers that are working on those trees. Looks like the trebuchets will be short-lived over here. The infantry breaks out. Don't forget, Leenock is an Imperial, so he's going to have his Imperial Age technologies come in a second. And you see, Wam doesn't have gold income. That's a problem because he's not an Imperial yet. So he can't just go for enclosures and get the gold from his farming eco. Mangonels now setting up. That is 3 or 4 of them. It's actually 4 mangonels out there on the battlefield. Pretty substantial force of infantry here for the English, but obviously with 4 mangonels and soon a bunch of Imperial Age units out here, this is not necessarily a fight that Wam wants to take, but he feels like he needs to. He's jumping on those mangonels right now. Archers, crossbowmen opening fire on the infantry. Elite knights are in for Leenock. I don't think that he's got elite archer or crossbowman just yet, though, and he's getting overpowered by superior numbers of infantry here. He's going to have to call off his forces, or at least briefly call off his forces, because I do believe that reinforcements could be on the way for Leenock here. Archers, crossbows moving up north over here, and we got some lancers looping around. We talked about those lancers. This is the problem that Wam is facing right now. You see, he's pursuing those forces back into those towers. Those towers, obviously having springholes, will help try and battle those castle age units out here. In fact, we got some bombard towers here as well for Leenock. That's going to help a lot against all that infantry. It looks like he's staying here. He's going to take this fight, mostly wiping out the spearmen here. Wam is going to call off his forces, and he also is now seeing that Leenock is calling back the cavalry. More bombard towers coming in though, and this is just a growing pain right now for Wam. His opponent is going to get the Yam network right in front of his base, and he's also going to have bombard emplacements on those towers. Looks like villagers are moving into the left side, trying to drop a castle on that big gold mine. Well, Leenock, he knew that this was coming. He knew fully well that this was coming, and oh no, 2 springhold towers opening fire on those villagers. The villagers will burn it down eventually, but additional villager losses over here for Leenock, or Wam rather, and that's going to be a growing concern for him. Because the more he loses, the more it's going to take to get to Imperial, and he's on a timer right now. Once Leenock gets the Imperial Age technologies, gets some bombards out, his base is gonna be very short-lived, and oh no, the Lancers are moving in. The Lancers, the Khan is also moving in. So many villagers will fall over here. These are elite Lancers. They actually start attacking the castle over here. That must have been a misclick here by Leenock. Now he's retargeting them on the villagers, but it looks like the castle is going up. Maybe if he doesn't misclick the villagers to the castle, he could have killed all, but still ton of damage done here. You see 72, 73 villagers only for Wam, still in castle age versus Leenock. And this was the gold mine that Leenock started taking at the beginning, actually. That one knight is still doing quite a lot of damage, and the bombard tower, oh no, the villagers. Oh, that must be so painful. The knight was the unit that provided the line of sight for the tower to open fire, and then the bombard just takes down 3 more vills. Too many losses here for Wam, especially if you consider the fact, as you see, we have just 5 minutes left on this timer. The Sacred Site timer has been going on for a long time now. So, too many villager losses over here for Wam to be able to build up a force, push the Sacred Sites, get to Imperial, and just fight against a player that hasn't lost a single villager for who knows how long now, really. Looks like the Lancers will actually commit. Leenock knows fully well that he is going to lose these Lancers. It's all about just wreaking havoc, delaying the opponent even further, building up a large force behind that one, and then unleashing hell. Knights will split up, trying to pick off as many villagers as they can, and they are quite successful doing so, picking off quite a few villagers on those farmlands. Remember, many of those farms no longer get the buff even because the mills have been destroyed. And ultimately, Wam is going to get rid of those knights inside his base, but just look at the amount of time it takes for him to do this. And his base looks like Swiss cheese. So the next wave of knights could come in any moment, really. Looks like no second wave of knights just yet. It's instead archers for Leenock for the time being. The Sacred Site on the left side has been decapped, so that's the first step back into this game for Wam. But obviously, his eco is still a train wreck. Leenock is sitting on 2 Sacred Sites still, and now the archers are moving in. Flaming arrows also in for those. Obviously, Wam is still in Castle Age, so Flaming Arrows, just a distant dream for him. But he's got the Network of Citadels bonus, which is definitely going to help against all those archers. And it looks like the archers will just once again dive in, pick off as many villagers as they can, and then just call it a day. They're going to trade it off against those crossbows, against the longbows. Most of that is going to be cleaned up by Wam over here. But obviously for Leenock, he's just playing to attrition right now. He knows fully well that his eco hasn't been touched for so long, and that is a Wingard Palace coming in here for Wam. Interesting choice. Under the amount of pressure he is, especially him being down to 50 villagers, you could justify the Berkshire Palace. The Wingard Palace is the better long-term choice because that's going to give him a lot of cheap trebuchets alongside some valuable combat units as well. But under the pressure he is, to buy himself time, the Berkshire Palace is something that he could have also justified. This being said, there is nothing wrong with the Wingard Palace, but it takes more time to pay off than a Berkshire would in this current scenario. At least it's Imperial Age though for Wam, so he's going to get enclosures, he's going to get the elite upgrades, and step it out. What are you doing? Step it out. We'll have to see about that one. Oh no. Oh no. Is this a misclick by Leenock? Or are we seeing the siege step it out? This gotta be a misclick, man. I mean, there is no way, right? Leenock is winning this one, make no mistake. I hope that this is not... Oh, Vololo, Vololo. Nope, not happening out here. Knights will just run out of that circle. So I really hope that Leenock is not sending this step right out to the opponent's base to just say, hello, what if you just tap out of this game? Now, it's possible that this unit is here to provide line of sight. Line of sight to the trebuchets, for example. Or it might have been just a misclick. There are some trebuchets on the outskirts of Wam's base, and that step right out is just chilling there. He's saying, might as well stay over here. There's an imposter among us. Oh boy, villagers though, they are definitely missing that step redoubt, and it's probably just a misclick here by Leenock, because that step redoubt is now heading back to the right side. Was a quite awkward behavior from this bad boy over here, I'm not gonna lie. And this gold mine is also relatively awkward over here, as you see. Beautiful line of villagers marching back to the Gur, well, rather back to the gold mine from the Gur, rather. But anyways, step redoubt now, trying to make it out alive. Yeah, he should be able to get away. At least Wam bought himself some time, and that's the network of citadels, or the power of the network of citadels more precisely, because right now it's all about buying himself time to get enclosures, so he's gonna have his gold eco back on track. And then of course, he's going to have the Imperial Age upgrades coming in. The concern for him is that on the left side he's getting pushed once again, and there are a lot of villagers stranded in this castle as well. And the biggest problem at this point for Wam, alongside the fact that the sacred sites have once again been kept by Lenox, so he's once again put on a timer, this time around with a deadline of 47 minutes in-game time. So the concern for him right now is that his villager count is horrendous, and it's going to take a lot of time to recover. So you see 67 villagers as opposed to 119, and he's just so confined to his base, and this base isn't even well secured. So raids could come in from any direction, and those could threaten those farmers. Villagers are actually being pulled to take down the trebuchets on the right side. Wolf also joined the party over here, and now those are elite archers for Leenock. He's going to send them out. The trebuchets will be gone, but so will the villagers be, and that's a decent trade. That's a trade that Leenock is going to be happy with, because he knows that it's all about just devastating the economy of Wam over here. And it looks like the villagers are just falling one after another. The Wingard Palace, it's still going to produce trebuchets and some army to you at a very cost-efficient manner, but Wam basically just has no functional economy. Even wood is a problem for him, so he's got gold and food. Wood is a problem. You see he's at 135 wood per minute, trying to rebuild those mills in his farming eco. In the meantime, trebuchets are rolling up from the left side for Leenock. He's going to target those mills once again. Look at that. He is going to start shelling those, getting the bounty for that as well. I would love to see him going for a bounty upgrade, actually. Probably for the mining camp. Yeah, he's going for a mining camp right now. He's getting 25 food and 25 gold for every single destroyed building, and he can upgrade those. I wonder if he's going to grab those upgrades, especially the stone bounty upgrade is really valuable for the Mongols. And there it is. Improved stone bounty and improved bounty as well. With that, you can get 125 stone per building killed. And that applies to farms as well. That is an insane boost. And of course, with Tithe Barns as well, as you see over here, raid bounty coming in, he could really benefit from the relics that he has garrisoned with Tithe Barns, from the buildings that he's destroying with those trebuchets. And the problem for Wam is that he's just 5 steps behind compared to his opponent. Really, I don't see a way back here for Wam. The knights are coming in, the archers are coming in, the trebuchet trying to do something, but there's just nowhere left to go here for Wam. Losing that position in the middle hurts so much, and especially losing all those villagers all across the game, because that set him back so much. The Mongols have a very efficient economy, so do the English. But when the English player is behind by 20-25 villagers, that's going to haunt him for a long time. So that's probably the major reason why Wam ended up losing this game over here. Losing so many villagers all across the game. You see, this villager graph is not happy for Wam. For a long time, it was relatively even, in fact, until that battle in the middle, but then everything started falling apart because he just didn't have the army to protect his base. He started losing villager one after another. And with that, I would like to thank you for watching this one. See you in the next video.